as long as I've been in the business world, it's very surprising to me about how many people do not know how to properly introduce colleagues and clients in a business environment. I know that there have been a few changes over the past few years regarding gender identification, but there are basic protocols that have been around for as long as I've been on this earth that are still relevant today, and people still don't know them. It may not seem like a big deal on the surface, but not knowing how to properly introduce colleagues and clients can cost you a promotion or job. This video will cover how to do introductions in the business environment, including taking gender identification into consideration. Unless you have a mobility challenge, do these introductions while standing. Standing during an introduction is polite because it shows respect. Follow the hierarchy of introducing people. Here is the hierarchy of introducing people. If the introduction is between two individuals or a group that are part of the same company, introduce the highest ranking person first. Then follow the hierarchy. This is a sign of respect for the title. If two individuals or a group are all of the same rank, introduce the most senior level person first, followed by the person at the next senior level. This is a sign of respect for the seniority level. If two individuals or a group includes the company's customer, introduce the customer first. This shows respect to the customer and acknowledges their importance in the business relationship. Introduce the person by their full name and title. For example, say,
"This is John Smith, our Senior Marketing Manager."
"This is Jane Smith, our Director of Customer Relations."
The exception to this rule is introducing a colleague with a title that represents their role. Here are examples. Doctors or professors. You may introduce the person as Dr. Smith, Professor Smith, or for surgeons in the United Kingdom, their gender identification followed by their last name, such as Mr. Smith, Ms. Smith, and Mick Smith. Military rank. If the person is in the military, it's proper to introduce them by rank and last name. For example, General Smith, Captain Smith, Admiral Smith, and Sergeant Smith. Person in the clergy. If the person is a member of the clergy, it's proper to introduce them by their title, followed by their name. For example, Father John Smith, Sister Jane Smith, Rabbi John Smith, Reverend Jane Smith, and Sheikh or Imam John Smith. This is an optional step, but it separates the great from the good. When introducing your colleague or client, give a quick statement about what they do and how they contribute to the company's success. Also, be aware of pronouns so you don't accidentally misgender the person. If you are unsure of which gender the person identifies, use they, them, and their. Let's take a look at 3 examples of how to introduce the customer or colleague, including their name, title, and what they do for the company. One example introduces a customer. The other 2 examples introduce colleagues, including one scenario that includes a colleague where the gender identification is unknown.
This is John Smith from ABC Company, the leading widget supplier in the world. John has been a valued customer of ours for nearly 10 years.
Pleased to meet you.
This is Jane Smith, the Vice President of Marketing in our company. Jane has been with the company for 5 years, and during her tenure, she has increased our company brand value from just North America to the entire world.
Pleased to meet you. This is Kelly Smith, the Director of Information Technology in our company. Kelly has been with the company for 3 years, and during their tenure, they have modernized our website by implementing AI for our frequently asked questions, which saved our customer service team 40% of their time.
Pleased to meet you.
This small step shows those in higher positions that you understand what happens in the company, and it makes you more likable with others because it shows that you know what they bring to the table, and you're acknowledging their value. Be formal in your response to introductions. I've seen too many people hurt their reputations by being too lax and informal with their responses. Instantly, the person being introduced looks at the other person as someone who doesn't take things seriously or has no proper manners. Rather than respond with,
Hi there.
Hey, what's good?
respond with,
How do you do?
It's a pleasure to meet you. For the Americans in the audience, do not respond with, How are you? While it's considered a polite response with Americans, other cultures consider that response to be too intrusive or too informal. Stay with the better responses of, How do you do? Or, It's a pleasure to meet you. Majority of business settings, it is acceptable to greet each other with a handshake. However, if you are introducing people from different cultures, be aware of cultural norms regarding physical contact. There may be issues from a cultural perspective with physical touch between two people of the opposite sex, or with physical touch in general. In most cases and cultures, a handshake is an acceptable gesture. I know that this seems obvious, but it has to be said because some groups, like Generation Z and Generation Alpha in the United States, are very informal, so I have to say it. Do not greet the person with a hug or a kiss. In almost every culture around the world, this greeting is only reserved for friends or informal settings. It is not appropriate in a formal business environment. This also seems obvious, but it has to be said because some groups, like Generation Z, Generation Alpha, Baby Boomers, and early Generation X in the United States, make this mistake, and in some cases, it can get them into trouble with human resources, so I have to say it. Do not use diminutive or informal terms of endearment for your business associates. Do not refer to the person as dude, bro, brah, girl, child, dear, sweetie, honey, or any other term that you would use with your friends and family. Depending on what you say, it could make you look like you have poor manners, you don't take things seriously, or more damaging to people's perspective of you, you're sexist or classist. By following these simple guidelines, you can ensure that your introductions are professional, respectful, and leave a positive, lasting impression. Mastering the art of introductions can benefit you throughout your career, demonstrating your social graces and fostering strong relationships with colleagues and clients.